effective, action-oriented, and leveraged fundraising, and emphasis on the fun in fundraising. I took the D off. We wanted to be fundraising. Thank you, Elizabeth, for that introduction. As you all know, this whole program was birthed out of the pandemic, and we had come up with a script and a really good curriculum, and then the pandemic happened, and we had to pivot like so many other people. So we pivoted, decided to still offer the program, the summer camp, because we said there's summer camp for everyone else. Why can't there be summer camps for nonprofits? We've been doing it virtually, and it's working. It is working. We have high viewership with the videos. I encourage you to take the videos and share them. I share them with friends and colleagues so that they can fast forward to particular sections. You might even get a transcription, turn on transcript, and then you can print the notes as I've spoken and then maybe save some of those things. So just important to think about for the future. The idea that for today is really about zeroing in and focusing on how to enhance your fundraising activity. This is an opportunity to retool and refire, refire and retool your energy, looking at how fundraising has changed and has shifted since the pandemic. If you can put in the chat one thing or one element that you might be challenged with right now in your fundraising, just while I'm doing my first 2 intro slides, if you could just drop in the chat 1 or 2 things that you'd like to take away from today, or something that is a particular strategic challenge for you. I want to shape what I'm sharing with you around that, so I can be fluid around what it is that you're actually confronting. Next slide, please. Fundraising is the gentle art of teaching the joy of giving. I think Hank Rosso said it best. Philanthropy, the whole idea and centering on philanthropy is about this philosophy of giving and the belief that there's an interconnectedness of humankind, that we all have a part to play in improving society in our communities. So the thread in fundraising is this philosophy about giving. So always circling back or connecting back to this thread of philanthropy. Why are we doing this? What is the purpose? It is because we have this shared special commitment to enhancing quality of life for all people, particularly the communities that we serve. Henry Russo has almost 5 decades of experience as a fundraising professional. He's the founder and director emeritus of the fundraising school at Indiana University. I use his book, Achieving Excellence in Fundraising, to teach fundraising at the graduate level. He has all these templates in there. A lot of them are free. So if you type in Hank Rosso, you can get a lot of the templates that I'm going to talk about today at no or low cost. So it's something to, just to think about. Next slide. So today, what are we touching on? The 3 key elements: being mission-led versus task-led, building anticipation, and expanding followership. That's the direction we are and where we have gone post-pandemic. Mission-led, remember we talked about that philosophy, not task-oriented. A lot of us, we front-load fundraising activity by delving into all the work that we do, and we don't necessarily center on the philosophy. People want to know now why you're doing what you're doing. The pandemic, folks were home, they reflected, and now they're being very selective about where they put their energy. I'm still raising as much, if not more, money for the organizations I'm affiliated with, but I will tell you, it's taking a different skill set for me to get people to the point of giving. I'm still effective, but I've noticed a shift. People are asking, folks ask very specific questions about the philosophy of the organization. Who's involved? What have you done? Where are you going? How are you changing? Folks are being very deliberate about where they give. Building anticipation, this whole idea of having a value added or having a value statement that's real quick that you can share with folks. If you offer value and then follow through with a really fun event, it builds anticipation. So if you offer value not just to the community that you serve, but to potential donors, and then you follow through with a really fun and cool, innovative event, people anticipate. It builds anticipation. And then finally, how do we expand followership? I don't even use the word donor that much anymore because it's a turnoff to people that give. They don't like to be called a donor. They either like to be called a co-laborer, a partner, or a part of your base. But for us, we're going to talk about expanding followership. So even our language has to shift now to be in the space that we are now presently operating in. So we're going to talk today about how we can reach and connect to folks on a more personal level, how we can create projects or events that build anticipation, and how we can expand our followership. Next slide, please. So I know most, if not all of you, and thank you. I see the chat is building, and that's great. Right after this slide, I just want to take a quick peek there to make sure that I'm tapping into and staying on topic with some of the things that are interesting to you. And I know with SWOT, it's been around a long time. The SWOT framework has been around. Put in the chat if you've used it before, just Y for yes, N for no, if you have used SWOT before in your organization or even been a part of it at work, in the community, etc. Y for yes, N for no. Thank you. So a few of you, yes, a few no's. I'm old school. If it works, keep doing it. That's my take on this. Thank you. Yes, so we got a few yeses, a few no's. SWOT has been around for a long time. It was created by Albert Humphrey at the Stanford Research Institute back in the 1960s. So this is close to 50 years, if not more. The ultimate goal of the SWOT analysis is to reinforce your strategy by assessing all of your business's strengths and weaknesses, the opportunities and the threats, or any pitfalls, as we call threats or weaknesses. What are the pitfalls in your strategy within your market? When it works, I say continue to do it. So the SWOT is very simple. Anyone can facilitate it. You just take the letters, you line them up, maybe one per page or 4 columns, and you ask folks to crowdsource. So everyone just gets together and shares what the strengths are for your organization. You start with the S, then you go to W, O, and T. So I'm giving you the questions. I've summarized them. These are the questions you can ask. What are we doing well? What sets us apart? I would even add there, what is our brand? What are our good qualities as an organization? What are our weaknesses? What do we need to improve? Are there resources adequate enough? Are we falling short in the resource area to do certain things? What do others do better than us? That's some of the things the ideas or themes you can talk about to identify gaps so that you can more effectively and readily identify and target your weaknesses. And then opportunities. What are our goals? What demands are shifting? I'm going to talk a lot today about the shifting dynamics in fundraising. How can what we do be improved? What are some of the blockers or challenges we're facing? And what's outside of our control? A lot of times I talk to folks in organizations and they're worried about things that they have no control over. And that's the pivotal point is, I'm on a board right now and I'm assessing what we have control over and what we don't. What we don't have control over, we have to isolate that and put it in the marina, not the parking lot, because they say parking lots don't move. So I say put it in the marina because the water can flow. You can still shift and change. It goes there, but you come back to it later, or you figure out another way to address it. So a few things I see here in the chat. How to stand out when competing. So we're going to talk about that, how to stand out. Raising money without being in person. I'm touching on that in the next slide or two. because that's definitely a must in today's times. Fundraising, expanding your fundraising base. How do we expand our fundraising base to find the right donors? And is it easier to raise money from people or individuals? Very good questions. And these are questions that all organizations are confronting now. Next slide, please. So first things first, there's 3 steps that lead towards real fundraising. Remember, realistic, action-oriented, realistic, expansive, action-oriented, and leverage. So there's steps to take. So first, thinking about your mission, what do we do? Who are we? Who do we reach? What do we provide? And then building anticipation. So making sure that your mission is translated very easily, get very clear every year about what you do. I think you should visit your mission every year. Who are you? Where do you deliver services and products? Be clear. What is your value added and why you're necessary in this space? Building anticipation happens when you give someone a clue in on what they can get, the value, and then you connect by following up. So you put it out there what the value might be. Maybe it's an event, an incentive, a challenge, and you follow it up with something fun. And that inspires people and builds anticipation. Another way is through regular communication. So I always express to folks, people should be hearing from you at least every 3 months. And it should be in different ways. Identify influencers in your field. So identify the folks that are making lasting change. You would be surprised at who's willing to come and speak with your group at a virtual event for low or no cost. You would be surprised how many people I've asked to be guest speakers and they didn't ask for any money in return. So you'd be surprised getting influencers who are usually very young and they're motivated by different things, not necessarily money. Influencing for them is all about building their brand and followership. So any platform they have to be present, they're going to take. And then another theme that I'll touch on later is market to half your age. Identify your oldest board member, divide their age in half. That's your average age audience. So if you have a board member that's 60, the oldest is 60, 65, then 35 are the demographics that you should be thinking about. That's a rule of thumb in the fundraising world because it's like a half-life, so that the half of the oldest person and the double of the youngest person kind of gives you an idea of who your average audience member is. And sometimes we market to the same folks and we get diminishing returns. So think about that. Act on your value in the marketplace and then do what you say you're going to do. So you offer the challenge or the incentive, the event, you follow through no matter what. I do not believe in canceling events because there aren't enough subscribers. I believe you hold the event no matter what, you record it and you share it and you keep moving. Delivering and following up, following through builds anticipation. Followership. Develop a specific online strategy to capture audience, your audience. When formulating a strategy, like I said, divide the oldest board member's age in half, and then figure out and learn as much as you can, get as much demographics as you can on that age group. What are their generational philosophies? What kind of music did they listen to? What concerts did they go to? Develop a specific outline or summary of your key contributors to capture a new audience, because the more we learn about a particular group, the more effective we are in connecting with them, the more that we understand. So getting to the question of how to stand out, brand is really important. So I think you should visit your mission every year. My bank, I don't know how many of you are with Teachers Federal Credit Union or Suffolk Federal Credit Union. They just changed all their marketing material for the first time in 25 years. And from what I understand, their subscribership went up 25%. Because if you look at teachers in Suffolk, all the colors are different. The logos are different. And even the bank uniforms are different. So they went through this whole branding exercise. And now their followership, their subscribership is up. So thinking about how to stand out is all about branding, focusing in on what your image is in this public space. What kind of website do you have? Do you have Instagram? Do you have a YouTube channel? Are you communicating with your audience in different ways every month or every 2 months? So maybe you do an Instagram challenge. That's always fun. Maybe you do a Facebook post, inspirational, leading up to an event. Maybe you do a email blast with a newsletter that has a game attached to it, like a raffle. And then the person, gets to you win and give a prize or an incentive. Think like what you would like to do. Just have fun. Is it easier to fundraise from individuals or companies? It all depends on what the ask is. I think that having a corporate model is very different than an individual giving model. So right now, organization I'm on the board, we have a corporate strategy and we have an individual strategy. And so we've written these letters and we're going to start dialing for dollars and knocking on doors, because the old school sales pitch still works. Getting in front of the decision maker, having your elevator speech down pat, and then offering incentive or value added. What can you do for this corporation's mission to help support what they're doing in the community? So I don't think it's easier or harder. I think it depends on what your goal is and what your ask is. You have to have both. You have to have a corporate giving strategy and you have to have an individual strategy. You should also consider legacy giving. I'm with a civil rights organization that had just turned 110 years old. And their average membership age is 70. So they're really pushing legacy giving, leaving the organization assets in your will. And it's working. People are signing up for it. I mean, $500 here and there, that adds up. $1,000, the 6% of an IRA, all of that really does work. But this organization is very effective about putting out in the public the work that they do. They don't even fundraise the way that we think. They promote their brand. This is what we're doing. This is where we are. This is how you can depend on us. These are the changes that we're making in society. And people connect to that. How can we raise money without being in person? I did talk about that in our fundraising session last year about virtual and hybrid events. And a lot of folks don't realize it takes more work to do virtual and hybrid. You have to have a team. You have to have a mothership. And we can do a whole half an hour about virtual, because I've done it successfully. You have to have a mothership, meaning you have to have one group of people who are the core organizers for everything. And then on that mothership, you have to have individual tasks for folks, a captain that's online, and a captain that's in person. You also have to have a strong bandwidth. When I did a hybrid event, we paid a audio visual guy to bring his extra gigabyte wave, his Wi-Fi. Even though the event space kept telling us, oh, it's okay. We did a run through, everything was good. And the guy said, I think you need to pay me the extra $100 to bring this Wi-Fi. And sure enough, when we got there, their Wi-Fi slowed down. And we had to use this audio visual guy's, his hotspot. He had extra gigabytes specifically to stream from the room. And we had online experience. So the online experience was a separate ticket price. And then the in-person was a separate ticket price. And online, there was a portion where they got to see the room and the program, and then it delineated. And they only were doing the things that were for folks online. So we had a whole program online. We had an online captain, an in-room captain. We had a mothership, which was a big table in the back room with 4 computers, where we had 3 people set up monitoring every aspect of the program. And you can do it. It's not difficult. It's just a different way of thinking. So yes, you can make a lot of money without renting space, or you can do smaller spaces and do cocktail style, and then do the virtual, the hybrid for entertainment. We had an R&B violinist. We also had a flautist, a hip hop. He did he was a what is it called? A contracted musician. He had performed and recorded with all these greats in the R&B space and in neo soul. And he did, he was just a flautist. He just did the flute. It was fantastic. I think he charged a couple of $100 because he didn't have to go anywhere. We Zoomed him in. So there's a lot of things that you can do that can cut down on cost and allow you to still have the same impact. Next slide, please. So be consistent. Thank you. Be consistent in how you plan your year. Be consistent, even time of the year. If you do events in March and October, let those be your seasonal brand. March and October, you got a spring fling and then a fall jazz roundup. Stick with it. Stick with what you know. First, create a calendar and a fundraising goal. Maybe your goal for the year is $8,000. Maybe it's $10,000, but identify a goal, a dollar amount, and let it be reasonable. If the most you've ever raised is 50,000, having $1 million goal is only going to deflate people. So be realistic, set a goal and a target, be consistent, have a calendar, create two to three different ways to connect with the public during the year. Webinars, workshops, socializing in a public space like a park, concert series, events that happen as a challenge or as a fun like health and wellness, like yoga, walkathons are like big now. People are really into it. They record in a crowdsourced document. Like I'm a member of like this walking group now that we get a dime for every mile that we do. And then all the money we decide at the end of the year who we donate it to. So I walk whenever I want and I record my time. It's an honest system. I write in the shared document. It's a Google Doc, Nicole Jean Christian. I did 22 minutes on Monday, 23 minutes, and I calculate the mileage. And then I contribute, or I get people, my family, to give me a dime for every mile or whatever. At the end of the year in December, we get together socially, and then we decide where the money goes. And we're walking, there's people in this group from New York City, Long Island, New Jersey, Connecticut. There's like four or five regions. And it's fun. And this organization is going to get a lot of money. It was genius. It was a smart idea. So think about things like that. Also, use online registration as much as possible, including a seamless one-click payment process. One click. If people have to go to your website and then go to an event and then go to a link to pay, that's too much. Folks need to be able to do one click and either pay or go. And Ian Wilder, a colleague of mine at the Long Island Housing Services, he's got this down pat. He mastered this. I said it to him one time, he mastered it. He's got his newsletter, he's got email blasts, he does text, and there's the link. Click here to give. Click here to give. It's right up front. And if you don't go to the event, you give $20. Recurring giving is another smart thing. Click here to give monthly. I'm giving monthly $10 a month. I'm not going to stop giving the $10 a month to this organization. It's easy. It's $5 a pay period. And that was how they marketed it to me. Oh, it's $10 a month or $5 a pay period. I was like, oh, I can do that. So, they're getting $120 a year from me. And I very rarely go to their meetings, very rarely, but I believe in what they do. Use Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, and any other online payment process so that folks don't have to write checks. I still write checks, but the majority, I heard a funny story from a colleague. Her child called her from the bookstore on campus because her debit card had gotten demagnetized. And she said, Mom, I got to write a check. And we had to walk through her child in writing a check. Thank God she sent this checkbook with her, but the child, not a child, a freshman, 18 years old, had to fill out this check. She had never filled out a check. She had been using debit cards her whole life. We are living with a generation of people, folks, that have never written a check, have never balanced their checkbook physically. So we have to, offer these opportunities whenever we can. I write checks, yes, and I am in the minority. I absolutely. Question about Venmo. I've had issues with using Venmo for nonprofits. The two nonprofits I'm with, we still have to use PayPal. Our bank does not do Venmo for our nonprofit. It all depends on your bank, but our bank does not. Our bank that we are bank with also does not do Cash App for nonprofits. But the other bank that my faith-based organization does, you can do Cash App and give to them. So it all depends on the bank. So just put in the chat why for yes and for no. Do you offer multiple ways to pay? I'm just getting a pulse reading here. Just tell me why, excellent, or N if you do or don't. No judgment. Excellent. Okay. And if you don't, now you can offer it. Now you can offer it. Do you have an event committee? Y or N? Do you have an event committee? Y for yes, N for no? And this is very common. Most of us don't, but that's something I want to encourage you to do. I'm going to talk about that next, is creating a committee, an events committee that will allow your membership or your followers or your friends or your donors or your givers, co-laborers, to participate. Yes, and there's a committee for each event. That's how most of us do it. Yep. Thank you. Next slide, please. So what are some fun ways to make some money? And I have a living room set up for a reason, because I'm trying to give you all the comfort vibe. I want to take it down from this strict business mindset to like a more comfortable vibe. Creating social spaces is a winner. I don't know if any of you have had an opportunity to attend any pop-ups in the past 2 years. Has anyone attended a pop-up fundraiser or event on Long Island in the city, in New York City recently? Why for yes and for no? Just let me know. I'm curious. Okay, so quite a few. Okay, so I was looking at the chat on the other screen. I have another laptop. So pop-ups, a lot of fun, real easy, a lot of organizations, they connect with community folk. They'll connect with a community organization and kind of leverage the rental fee on a space. And they literally will pop up and do an event there like it's their storefront, like it's their place. So they'll go somewhere, they'll have their backdrop, they'll have a DJ, they'll have music. Like I just went to a pop-up, it was a pool party right here in Huntington, all young people raising money for this nonprofit to do educational tours, I think in Africa and Cuba, I can't remember, but it was a pop-up. I got the invitation, it was $25. I went, it was at someone's, like at a hotel, and they had a pool, and they had hamburgers, hot dogs on the grill. They had their backdrop, they had DJ, music out, they had raffles, they had all kinds of activities going on. They had Wheel of Fortune, they had Jeopardy. It was like trivia. They had trivia. Like it was all this fun stuff in 2.5 hours. It was a pop-up. They broke everything down and went home. So that's another really effective way, is creating social space, finding events that allow people real connections, allow people to allow connections between people. So creating social experiences, hosting events that center on physical, mental health and wellness, doing outdoor events, taking advantage of the summer and doing things outside at the park, or maybe there's a grateful donor that would give, their space, their home, offer up their home, or an affiliated hotel, or like I was invited to a nonprofit fundraiser I wasn't able to attend, and they did it at the Center for Ethics in Nassau, and they offered up the space for free. It was a pop-up, and they charged no rent. They collected all the money, and at the end of the night, they wrote the nonprofit a check. That was their donation. So they apparently approached this center for a donation. And they said, well, instead of a donation, could we leverage your space? Would you be willing to advertise our event? And if you want, you can keep a portion of it. And could you co-labor with us? And they said, sure, we'll give you all the money. So I thought and it was fun from what I understand, very social, lots of activities to talk, wasn't really a strict program, no awards, no certificates, nothing like that, but it was more social. So we're in a place now where folks are being very selective about their energy and where they go. After the pandemic, we value social time, person to person, so much more. We're now fully entrenched in the aftermath of the big quit or the great resignation, where people across multiple sections came to the realization that they weren't happy with their jobs and they weren't happy with the direction of their work. People weren't satisfied. The industries that they were in, their work-life balance was out of whack, and they used the pandemic as an opportunity to rethink, reframe, and they left their jobs. Anthony Coit's coined the term the Great Resignation or the Big Quit. And it's not just hypothetical. It's an actual economic movement that's been backed up by statistics from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. Between April 21 and April 22, 71 million people separated from their jobs. Can you imagine? That's the biggest shift in America's history, averaging 3.9 million people quitting a month. In November 2021, the level of monthly quits reached a peak of 4.5 million Americans a month, and I was one of them. So it's not that far-fetched. I was one of them. The Great Resignation is sometimes thought of as the precursor to quiet quitting. But what does all that mean for us? It means that if you can provide a space for folks to connect, to focus on their well-being, to being together, promoting goodwill, relationships, you're providing a value that has long been kept from people, from most of us that were working traditional 9 to 5s. So think about speed meeting. I went to an event, I helped host it, where it was called Meet Your Neighbor Night. And the idea is that we got all together and we paid so that we could meet people different than us. And so I had a list of questions and we lined up like speed meeting. They had music playing, again, young people. It was in Brooklyn. Students that I used to teach at LIU. They were raising money for a nonprofit and we had fun. We asked questions like, who's your superhero? If you were a flavor of ice cream, what would it be? What style of clothes do you wish would come back? What was the first concert you ever went to and who was playing? And the lady that was with me was Fleetwood Mac. She was 20 years older than me, but I'm a Fleetwood Mac fan. And I was like so enamored that she got to see Fleetwood Mac free, in person. And I never did. So the idea is to create social spaces. If you can offer a place and a space for people to connect authentically, I'm telling you, you will sell tickets hand over fist. Think about a pop-up. Really think about doing a pop-up. Connect with somebody around you in the community that has a space that you can leverage and just show up on that day with a very fluid program. You could do game night. You can do trivia. You can do speed meeting. You can do a book author reading. You can do line dancing. You can do a tribute band. All of these things. I went to one, I just got an invitation for Name That Tune. I have to come up with a team of people. We're going to go to this restaurant and we get to compete with like 10 other groups. And it's $10 to play. $10 a person. So it's $40 a team for 2 hours. It costs us about $100, but the nonprofit gets all the money and they didn't pay any overhead for a space. I think Fridays is hosting them or some restaurant, Applebee. I don't remember who it is. I have to look at it. But think about pop-ups, contests, and fun. How can you create a social space? Next slide. These are the last two, and then we're going to get into discussion. A few ways to capture and connect with your audience and build anticipation. I want to leave this with you. Offering opportunity to connect, share value, build relationships upfront, and deliver on it. Folks will look forward to it every year. Time, release your outreach. So release a flyer, then 2 weeks later, do a post on Insta, Then 2 weeks later, do a Facebook post. Then 2 weeks later, do an email blast. Then 2 weeks later, do a video. Time release your outreach. Switch it up. Use multi-touch platforms for engagement. Email, phone, all the socials. Do your best. It doesn't have to be perfect. Bring programs to the communities you serve. Co-host pop-ups. Use these summer months to host something fun and different like jazz, wine tasting, line dances, or a Zumba-thon, walkathon. Stay focused, but have fun too. We got to have more fun. Next slide, please. Here's the 6 things you can take with you. And Elizabeth has the slide deck. She says she'll share it with you all. Identify and write down your key audience characteristics. So there's a few ways to focus on realistic, expansive, action-oriented leverage fundraising. Sit down and identify your key audience. Write out everything you know about this demographic, their value system, their generational beliefs. Learn as much as you can about the key contributors to this movement. Market to one person at a time, not all persons at once. Market to one person at a time, not all at once. Another one, survey and poll. I cannot express this enough. I have free accounts on SurveyMonkey, but also Google and Outlook have similar platforms that allow you to create a poll with a QR code in 3 minutes. Literally, you type in the questions, you click on convert to QR code, it pops up, you cut and paste it and send it out. Ask questions. Poll your trusted followers. It's easy, and there's free platforms that are easier than Google. Co-create with committees. Boost your working committees and get event ideas from them. Don't assign the committee the event. Ask the committee to come up with the event idea. Co-design, offer incentives, offer discounts, 2-for-1 matches. Challenge grants are fun. Find someone on the board or in your organization willing to put up a certain amount of money that if you can get, say, half of it raised through crowdfunding, then you will get the full amount. So let's say you decide you want to offer a challenge grant. You know, if we can raise in the next 30 days, the next month, if we can raise, I don't know, $500, if we can raise $250, then we can offer or we can enjoy double that amount. So I would say I'm willing to give $50 more. So you can calculate how much more you're willing to give in order for you to meet that challenge grant. There's a few different ideas. So if you can get half raised through crowdfunding, it could be something small like $1,000, 500. So if you say my challenge goal is 1,000, if I raise 500, then somebody else will step up with 500, or you can do half of that. You know, can we raise 200? You know, and raise half of 200, so $100. Then somebody else will step up and give another 100, so we can reach our goal. A lot of simple ways to do things. The key is not the amount, it's the challenge. People like challenges. Stick to it and review your events every year and have a peak and valley discussion so you know what works and what doesn't. Market to half your age. And, you know, like I said, I want to encourage you to have those peak and valley discussions, like what happened really great, what happened that needs to be, you know, improved upon. Thank you so much, Joni. Thank you. So the last slide, next slide, just think about why people give. People give 48% because they believe in a cause. 31% believe you should give. It's a philosophy. And 100% of people give because they're asked. So we talked about this last month. Why do people give? And we see here why, but it goes back to learning what you can about your key audience and their motivators. And when you can identify your key audience, you can more readily connect to them with your value system, building trust and connection. I have learned that when I am working with a population under the age of 40, I have to employ less stringent approaches. So having meetings very late at night, doing things online platforms, like letting people do polls instead of coming to a meeting. Like I have to do all those things because it's the easiest way for me to connect and tap in with our key audience without putting a lot of pressure on folks to show up in person. On your website, next slide, Please, next 2 slides, make sure you include a team members page. And then next slide, make sure you include testimonials on your website. And then finally, next slide, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Include pictures on your website where possible. Folks that you work with doing the work. And now our last slide, time for some discussion and Q&A and some announcements. I will see you back here on September 11th at 10 for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Principles for Nonprofits. We will learn, share, and engage in our understanding about the principles and basic practices of DEI, where it came from, and the tools you can use to advance it in your organization. Then on the 19th, Coffee and Connect. We'll talk about all these sessions and how you can take what we've discussed and readily apply it and maybe ask some questions, maybe do some exercises to figure out how to incorporate it. And at this point, I'm going to turn the mic over to Elizabeth. 45 minutes, I'm right to my promise.